President Trump's again facing criticism for what's become a remarkably common occurrence for him lately, attacking and insulting women reporters. These aren't your typical fake news enemy of the people attacks. His insults are getting remarkably personal and vicious, attacking the intelligence and the appearance of these journalists. Most recently, it was NBC News' Yamiche Alcindor. The exchange happened as the president took questions in the Oval Office about a week ago. Initially, Alcindor asked Trump about Venezuela and if he intended to claim more oil assets from the country, which is a reasonable question given the ongoing tensions in the region. A couple of minutes later, she attempted to ask the president another question, only to get this response.
No, wait. You have to be nice and easy. Nice and easy. She's very aggressive. Okay, please.
If you couldn't hear what he said, yeah, nice and easy, she's very aggressive. Trump's remarks weren't just dismissive. He attacked Alcindor with an insult that is historically a racial stereotype for black Americans, particularly black women who speak assertively. A few days before that, Trump had a terse exchange with ABC's Rachel Scott after she asked Trump about whether he would direct the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to release video of a controversial second strike on a boat in the Caribbean.
Are you committing to releasing the full video?
Didn't I just tell you that?
You said that it was up to Secretary Hegseth.
Obnoxious reporter in the whole place. Let me just tell you, you are an obnoxious, actually a terrible reporter, and it's always the same thing with you.
Starting to get a sense here. When Trump is asked a question he doesn't like about a topic that is the sort of a source of political pressure to his administration, he seems to deflect. And when that doesn't work, personal attacks replace answers. And it's worth underscoring this point. These questions he's been asked, they're not out of bounds. They're exactly the type of questions that you would expect a journalist to ask to hold power to account. In the past 2 months alone, Trump has called women reporters insults ranging from stupid to obnoxious and terrible.
It wasn't the brain because I took a cognitive test and I aced it. I got a perfect mark, which you would be incapable of doing.
Why do you blame the Biden administration?
Because they let him in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person?
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question.
If there's nothing incriminating in the files, sir, why not
Quiet piggy. The president's niece, Mary Trump, has weighed in on why she believes her uncle's attacks may be intensifying and what they may reveal.
His misogynistic attacks against reporters in particular are increasing, and that means a couple of things. It means that he's increasingly comfortable lodging such attacks, but I think it's also a sign that he's a little rattled. Because why? He's also clearly never heard of the Streisand effect. When you call attention to the thing you want people to ignore. It's probably a terrible idea.
And that's where I start with this. Donald Trump has a long history of misogyny, especially when challenged by women. But we're seeing something now that feels more defensive, lashing out in almost schoolyard fashion to avoid answering real legitimate questions from journalists who are doing their jobs. As the old proverb goes, a hit dog will holler. We can just take as much from the president's answers as we can from the questions that he tries to avoid. All right, joining me now, April Ryan, Washington, D.C. bureau chief, White House correspondent, and an MS Now contributor, and Mary Trump, Donald Trump's niece, and the host of Mary Trump Media on YouTube. Welcome to both of you. Thank you for being with us. April, here's the thing. I just delivered a long treatise on what Donald Trump has been doing with journalists, in particular with women journalists, and that wasn't even a complete picture. In fact, you yourself have personal experience with this.
Yes, I have personal experience. I had personal experience in the first term, and I have personal experience in this term. It's not just the words, it's what they do. The retaliation is real as well. Because of the first term, because of my questioning, as a journalist, who's covered many presidents before he came. He did not like the questions. He did not want to answer questions on a community that's still underserved with the highest numbers of negatives in almost every category. And so now, Allie, almost a year into this administration, they refuse to call on me. They refuse to put me in the pool, but I still break news. And that's one thing about being a reporter in Washington, D.C. who does not need a White House. We can go around the White House to find out what's going on. But yes, there is retaliation, and just like Yamiche, it was me, Yamiche, and Abby Phillip the first term, and he is taking his ire out on Yamiche, who is pregnant. And I shouldn't put her personal, because it should not be about us, but it's become a focus on us. His misogyny, his ire against people who question him, and then Black women on top of that, Rachel Scott and Yamiche right now, and myself, by him trying to keep me out. But I still have my hard pass, but I pick and choose when I come in.
Mary, I'm curious, because you're also a psychologist. You have two potential solutions here. One is that he's getting very comfortable with who he is, and this is actually who he is. And two is he's getting rattled. I'm more inclined toward the second, because when you combine it with his Oval Office speech the other day, which seemed rattled, where he was lecturing everybody about the economy and prices. But give me a little more on this, because you think about this more than I do, and you know him better than most people.
Sure. I think it's obvious, or it should be at this point, that Donald is a hardcore misogynist. He was raised in a family of misogynists. And one of the things that has been most troubling over the years is just the casualness with which he expresses his misogyny. And one of the earliest examples of that was when April Ryan asked him a question, and Donald suggested that she should set up a meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus, as if that's her job. Her job, as she said, is to be a journalist.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, well, exactly. The misogyny was, you're a woman, set up the meeting, and then the casual racism of, well, you're Black, so of course you would be able to set up a meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus. So it's been that way since the beginning. So I think one of the reasons, as you mentioned, it's increasing is because it's who he is. And just as Donald has always given other people permission to be their worst selves, by his getting no pushback whatsoever, he's feeling more and more comfortable being his worst self. But then we get to the second point, which is he is terrified. He knows that his poll numbers are terrible. He knows that his policies are unpopular. He's increasingly unpopular. He knows on some deep level that he is losing his cognitive abilities at an alarming rate, and he lashes out. He does not understand how to contain himself. And if anybody, especially a woman of color, challenges him, he will lash out in a way to discharge some of that tension for him. But as April pointed out, to put that person in danger. When you have the president of the United States, not just insulting reporters, but threatening their livelihood simply because they're doing their jobs, we are in a very bad place, and nobody's pushing back.
April?
You know, Mary's absolutely right. It's not just their livelihoods, it's their lives, Mary, as well. You know, I've had the bomb squad at my house. I had a Caesar Sayat bomb. I've had people wait for me outside the White House. It's dangerous. And what reporters are not saying, because I sit in a different space, I tell it to save my life. And those reporters who are on the job, their jobs are not allowing them to be the story. But by the grace of God, I'm here to be able to say, when he puts his mouth on you, to say those awful things, the hate that comes in, the fear behind it, there's still, even with his poll numbers in the 30%, the lower 30 percentile range, there's still that contingent that believes in him and hates us. And what they don't understand is we are more patriotic than they ever understand, because we are built into the First Amendment, our white founding fathers put into place, and we are respecting and responding to that. Freedom of the press.
Mary, April, Donald Trump is not polling particularly well with women right now. How does this reflect? Because we can all see this with our eyes, the things he says. It's not just the words. If you read this in an article, it's very different than seeing the video and the vitriol coming out of Donald Trump when he targets reporters, particularly women reporters, particularly black women reporters. How do you think this plays in America?
Well, it's one thing to hear it once or twice, but it's over and over and over again. It's repetition, and it's being drummed into our head by the president himself, who denies this. What is it? look at what I do, not what I say. And I mean, it's over and over again. He says, oh, I'm a friend to women, but yet you call people piggy, ugly, stupid, obnoxious, etc. Who are you as a man? He objectifies women. He believes we're less than. And it just goes to show that this president is tone deaf to a large base of people who vote. In the first term, a lot of women, particularly white women, voted the pocketbook of their husbands when they voted for him. But the question is, what happens when he needs support from women now? He's going to fall on a lot of deaf ears.
In that list of insults we just put up, November 18th stands out to me, Mary, because it's unusual. He said he called a reporter insubordinate, kind of giving the game away there, right? No reporter is accountable to the president of the United States.
I agree with you. That was chilling, actually, because that is Donald's view of reporters. Right. Reporters are not there, in his view, to get the facts or to educate the American people. They are there simply to prop him up and to present everything he does in a positive light. And, those insults are the kinds of things I heard around the dinner table at my grandparents' house growing up, but it is an entirely different thing when it is the president of the United States. And we look at those approval ratings, and luckily his disapproval rating among women is rising, but it's 38% of women still supporting him is way too high a number. And I think that one issue we can't lose sight of is that this is bred into the bones of the United States of America. This is still a deeply misogynistic country. And that is why we are saddled with a misogynist in the White House like Donald Trump.